Somewhere in the past year, you stood at a pharmacy counter and a number came back at you that made no sense. Maybe it was $11. Maybe it was 400. Same medicine, same pharmacy, same card in your hand. And if you had walked in 3 weeks later, you might have gotten a completely different answer. And when you asked why, the person behind the counter probably couldn't tell you either. Not because they were hiding something, because they genuinely don't know. Everybody already has a villain picked out for this one. Drug companies, drug makers set their prices, and they set them high. But there is a second company standing inside that transaction, and you have almost certainly never heard its name. You didn't choose it. You can't call it. It isn't your insurer, it isn't your pharmacy, and it isn't the drug maker. It sits in the middle of all three, and it is the thing that decides what shows up on that little screen when you tap your card. And here is the strange bit: that company gets paid a slice of the sticker price. When the sticker goes up, its paycheck goes up with it. The middleman that exists to negotiate your drug prices down has a very real financial reason to want them high. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll be able to take a prescription price apart into the pieces it's actually made of. And only one of those pieces is the medicine. Stand in a pharmacy for a minute and just watch what happens. Somebody walks up, hands over a card, the pharmacist scans it, there's a pause of maybe 4 seconds, and then a number appears. Nobody negotiates. Nobody sees a price list. The customer either pays it or doesn't. And most of the time, they pay it because it's medicine. And you don't shop around for the thing keeping your blood pressure down. In those 4 seconds, that prescription didn't go to your insurance company. It went to a pharmacy benefit manager. A pharmacy benefit manager, or PBM, is the company your employer or your insurer hires to run the drug half of your health plan. That's it. That's the whole job description, and it is an enormous job. The PBM decides which drugs your plan covers and which it doesn't. It decides what tier each drug sits on, which is another way of saying it decides what you pay. It decides which pharmacies are in your network. And it decides how much money the pharmacy gets for handing you the bottle. So this is a company that sets your price, sets the pharmacy's payment, and sits between you and both of them. And you have never once been asked for your opinion about it. Now, how big is this? In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission published a report on this industry, and the number in it is genuinely hard to believe. The three largest pharmacy benefit managers processed nearly 80% of the roughly 6.6 billion prescriptions filled in the United States in 2023. The top six handled more than 90%. 2 decades earlier, the big three handled about half three companies, 8 out of every 10 prescriptions in the country. Here are their names, and you'll recognize the second half of each one. Caremark, which is owned by CVS Health, Express Scripts, owned by Cigna, and Optum Rx, owned by United Health Group. These companies were not born powerful. In the 1960s, they were paperwork. Insurers needed somebody to process thousands of tiny drug claims, and a small industry appeared to do that clerical work for a fee. That's the entire origin story. They were filing clerks. Then, in the early 1990s, the drug makers noticed something. A company that decides which drugs get covered is a company worth owning. Lilly bought one, Merck bought Medco, SmithKline bought another, regulators pushed back, the conflict of interest was a little too obvious, and by the end of the decade, the drug makers had sold them all off again. So it happened in the other direction instead, and nobody stopped it. In 2007, CVS, a drugstore chain, merged with Caremark, a middleman, in a deal worth roughly $26.5 billion. Then in 2018, the insurers arrived. CVS bought Aetna for around $69 billion. That same year, Cigna, an insurer, bought Express Scripts for about $67 billion. United Health, already the largest insurer in the country, owned Optum Rx outright. So in a lot of cases, the company that insures you, the company that decides what your drug costs, and the company that fills the prescription are all the same company, wearing 3 different name tags. To see how that turns into the number on the screen, you need to know that every prescription drug in America has 2 prices, not one. The first is the list price. In the industry, it's called the wholesale acquisition cost. It's the official sticker. The second is the net price, which is what actually changes hands after all the discounts get applied behind the scenes. Think of the sticker in the window of a car at a dealership. Everybody understands. Nobody pays that. The sticker is theater. The real number gets worked out in the little office. Prescription drugs work exactly the same way, with one brutal difference. At the dealership, the sticker doesn't cost you anything because you negotiate off it. In the pharmacy, the sticker often is your bill. If you have a deductible you haven't met yet, you pay the full list price. If you pay coinsurance, a percentage rather than a flat copay, you pay a percentage of the list price, not the net price, the theater price, which means somebody in that chain benefits when the theater price is enormous. So let's take the price apart and find out who. Piece number one is the rebate. And this is the one that breaks people's brains because a rebate is a discount, and this discount made drugs more expensive. A drug maker wants its pill on your plan's covered list, the formulary. If it isn't on that list, effectively it doesn't exist because you'll never be prescribed it. To get on the list, the drug maker offers the pharmacy benefit manager a rebate, money paid back after the sale. That rebate is calculated as a percentage of the list price. Sit with that for a second. If a drug maker sets a sticker of $100 and hands back 30%, then the middleman collects $30. If the drug maker sets a sticker of $300 and hands back the same 30%, the middleman collects $90. Same drug, same factory, same molecule. The only thing that changed is a number on a piece of paper, and the middleman just got 3 times richer. So the drug makers learned to compete not by offering the lowest real price, but by offering the biggest discount off the highest possible sticker. The FTC's complaint documents this in the plainest language you could ask for. One Novo Nordisk vice president said the middlemen were, quote, addicted to rebates. A vice president at one of the pharmacy benefit managers described the strategy as continuing to, quote, drink down the tasty rebates. And you can watch it happen to a single drug. So now, in 1999, the average list price of Humalog, a fast-acting insulin made by Eli Lilly, was $21. By 2017, it was over $274. That's an increase of more than 1,200%. Insulin was not reinvented in those years. Nothing about making it got 12 times harder. Novolog from Novo Nordisk more than doubled from about $122 in 2012 to about $289 by 2018. And when cheaper versions of these insulins did arrive, with low stickers and small rebates, the FTC alleges they were kept off the formularies. A low sticker generates a small rebate. A small rebate is worth less to the middleman. The cheap version lost on purpose. Piece number 2 is called spread pricing, and it's the simplest one. The middleman bills your health plan one amount for a drug, pays the pharmacy a smaller amount for that same drug, and keeps the difference. Nobody on either end sees both numbers. In 2018, the state auditor of Ohio actually got both numbers for the state's Medicaid program for 1 year. Across all drugs, the spread was nearly 9%. On generics, it was 31%. In a single year, in a single program, in a single state, the spread came to almost $225 million, and that only surfaced because Ohio decided to look. Most plans never do, and most plans genuinely can't, because the contract doesn't hand them both numbers. When the FTC measured spread pricing on specialty generic drugs alone over the years 2017 to 2022, it estimated the big three collected around $1.4 billion from the gap. That's one narrow slice of one category of drugs. How big is it across everything else? Nobody outside those companies actually knows. Piece number 3 is the biggest, and it only works because these companies own their own pharmacies. In January of 2025, the FTC published a second report, this one on specialty generic drugs, the kind used for cancer, HIV, multiple sclerosis, organ transplants. Staff found that the big three marked up numerous specialty generics dispensed at their own affiliated pharmacies by hundreds of percent and some by thousands of percent. Between 2017 and 2022, those pharmacies took in more than $7.3 billion above what the drugs cost them to buy. 10 drugs accounted for $6.2 billion of it. And this is the detail that tells you it isn't an accident. The report found the big three reimbursed their own pharmacies at a higher rate than they paid independent pharmacies on nearly every specialty generic examined. They set the payment, and then they paid themselves more. By 2023, pharmacies affiliated with those three companies were collecting 68% of all specialty drug dispensing revenue in the country. In 2016, it was 54%. If having this stuff pulled apart for you is your kind of thing, that's the entire channel. One everyday thing, taken to pieces every week. Subscribing genuinely helps Penny keep making them. Piece number 4 is fees, and it's where this gets almost funny. Alongside the rebates, drug makers also pay administrative fees, and those fees are also calculated off the list price. Those get negotiated through separate entities called group purchasing organizations. Caremark uses one called Zinc, Express Scripts uses one called Ascent, Optum uses one called Emissar. Two of those were run from outside the United States. When the FTC settled with Express Scripts in February of 2026, one of the requirements was that Express Scripts move Ascent back from Switzerland to America, bringing home more than $750 billion in purchasing activity. And there's a cost to all of this that shows up on your own street. The contracts an independent pharmacy signs with these middlemen frequently don't reveal what that pharmacy will actually be paid until after the drug has already been handed over. Take it or leave it, and leaving it means losing every single patient on that plan. Independent pharmacies have been closing steadily, hundreds of them over the past couple of years, and roughly 1 in 8 American neighborhoods now lacks convenient access to a pharmacy at all. When the corner drugstore closes, the prescriptions don't evaporate. They move to a mail order pharmacy, which is very often owned by the same company that set the payment rate that closed the corner drugstore. Four pieces: a rebate that rewards a higher sticker, a spread nobody can see, a markup they pay to themselves, and a fee stacked on top of the sticker. Only one thing in that entire list is the actual medicine. So, what does the machine cost you specifically standing at that counter? If you have a flat copay, $20 for a generic, $40 for a brand, you're mostly insulated. The list price is a fiction that happens above your head, but fewer and fewer people are in that situation. If you're on a high deductible plan, and tens of millions of Americans are, then until you hit that deductible, you pay the list price. The inflated one. The one that got inflated specifically so somebody else could collect a bigger discount off it. The FTC's complaint spells out the consequence, and it's remarkable. A patient with a deductible or coinsurance can end up paying more out of pocket for a drug than the entire net cost of that drug to their health plan. You, one person, paying more than the insurance company paid. And that shapes real behavior. In a national survey, about 1 in 4 adults said that in the past year they did not fill a prescription because of what it cost. Roughly 4 in 10 said they'd skipped a dose, cut pills in half, or taken something over the counter instead of filling the script. And that share has been climbing, not falling. How big is the gap between the fake price and the real price across the whole market? One widely cited industry estimate puts total gross to net reductions on brand name drugs at around $356 billion in 2024. That is the distance between the stickers and reality in 1 year in one country. A third of $1 trillion of theater. Now, the useful part, because there are 4 things you can actually do with this, and none of them require you to fix American healthcare. First, always ask for the cash price, not the insurance price. The cash price. Your pharmacist used to be contractually forbidden from volunteering that the cash price was lower. Those clauses were banned by federal law in 2018, so they're allowed to tell you now. They still usually have to be asked. A study published in 2018 found that on about 1 in 4 claims, patients' copays were higher than the cash price would have been, and on 12 of the 20 most commonly prescribed drugs, people overpaid by more than a third. Second, for generics, check a transparent seller before you fill. Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs publishes what it paid for each medicine and adds a flat 15%, a $5 pharmacy fee, and $5 of shipping. For a lot of common generics, the price is a fraction of what runs through insurance. It won't cover everything, but it takes 30 seconds to check. Third, if you take one expensive maintenance drug, ask your prescriber a specific question. Is there a therapeutically equivalent option on a lower tier of my formulary? Not, is there something cheaper? Tier is the word that matters because tier is the setting the middleman controls. Fourth, and this is the one almost nobody knows, the lever is held by your employer. In September of 2024, the FTC sued all 3 of the big pharmacy benefit managers over exactly the insulin rebate machine we just walked through. Express Scripts settled in February of 2026. Optum reached a proposed settlement in June. Caremark settled on the 14th of July, 2026. The terms are more interesting than the headlines. The companies have to stop preferring a high sticker version of a drug over an identical low sticker version. They have to offer plans a version where your out-of-pocket cost is based on the net price rather than the inflated list price. They have to offer to pass rebates through to you at the register. They have to offer community pharmacies a straightforward cost plus a fee payment. The FTC estimates the Caremark settlement alone locks in up to $8.5 billion in consumer savings over 10 years and could unlock $4.5 billion more through point of sale rebates. The Express Scripts settlement is projected at up to $7 billion. But read that word again, offer. These are standard offerings the middlemen must make available. Somebody still has to say yes to them, and that somebody is whoever chooses your health plan, which is usually your employer's benefits team. So the single highest leverage question you can ask at open enrollment isn't about premiums, it's this. Does our plan pass rebates through at the point of sale? Most benefits teams have never been asked. Some genuinely don't know, and a plan sponsor who starts asking is doing something that a patient at a counter can't. There is also real evidence the machine is already losing its grip. The insulin stickers came down hard. Eli Lilly cut the list price of Humalog by 70%, taking a 10 milliliter vial from $274.70 to $66.40, and capped monthly out of pocket insulin costs at $35 for many patients. Across brand drugs generally, that $356 billion gap grew in 2024 at its slowest rate in a decade. The high sticker, high rebate model is finally, slowly deflating. So here's the thing to carry out of this. The number on your prescription was never a measurement of what your medicine costs. It's a measurement of what a discount on your medicine is worth to somebody standing between you and the pharmacy shelf. That's why it doesn't behave like a price. Real prices come down when something gets cheaper to make. This one went up when the discount got bigger, which is not a thing prices do. It only makes sense once you know the sticker was never aimed at you. So it was aimed at a negotiation you weren't in, and that's the part worth repeating to somebody this week. Because it sounds impossible until you say it slowly. A discount made the medicine more expensive, not a shortage. Not a patent, not the cost of research. A discount. The bigger the discount got, the higher the sticker climbed, because the discount was a percentage of the sticker, and the person collecting it was never you. And once you can see that, the whole counter looks different. The pause before the number appears isn't a computer looking something up. So formula resolving with 4 different companies' interests inside it, exactly one of which is yours. The pharmacist isn't withholding anything. They're standing at the end of a pipe with a screen on it, same as you. None of that means you're helpless. It means the leverage is just somewhere unexpected. It's in the question you ask before you hand over the card. It's in the 30 seconds you spend checking a cash price. It's in the one email to your benefits team that nobody at your company has ever sent. And the timing is unusually good, which is not a sentence anybody gets to write about American healthcare very often. The machine that built those stickers is being taken apart in public. All 3 of these companies have now agreed to stop doing the specific thing that inflated the price. Insulin stickers have already come down. The gap between sticker and reality grew last year at its slowest pace in a decade. You're standing inside a system that's mid-renovation, and the people who understand how it works are the ones who get to use the new doors first. Penny takes apart one everyday thing. Every week, the receipt, the rent, the bill, nobody can explain. Subscribe, and the next one will find you. And if you want to see this exact structure running somewhere far less serious, go watch Delta Made More from Amex Then from Flying You. It's the same shape, a contract you'll never see between 2 companies you're not a party to, quietly deciding the price you pay. Once you've spotted it twice, you'll start finding it everywhere.